this class here. The information that is being given in this class is the reason the Jews have been killed for the last 6,000 years.
Yes.
And so it's because of the Torah, but more than that, it's because of this information. Now, people don't know why they're doing it, but the Torah has been out there since Moses, and it has been written down, and everybody's got a Bible in their house, and nobody hates the Jews because of the Bible, because of the Old Testament. The ultimate core of anti-Semitism is this information, because it challenges the soul to such a degree you can lose your faith, you can lose your whole concept of God, you can and it can damage it can damage your mind severely to the point of psychosis. It can kill you, and the problem is, according to my rabbi, the sword is on my throat. And so, in other words, if you were to speak to someone about this information and they were to mock it or make fun of it or make fun of you, it could do severe damage to me. And I am willing to teach this information because it is crucial for us to know. And so the people who learn this information from me, it's almost an invitation only. And so you know, there's people around me that I trust, and it's to be learned for the group, within the group, and only in the group and about the group. And so probably from here on out, I will not teach this information anywhere outside of this class.
Okay.
Because the more I know, now I'm not opposed to getting on Skype and teaching you guys where y'all can see and stuff like that. I'm not opposed to that at all. But this will never be an open class where people can just log in to listen to Torah class.
I understand that. I didn't think that would be the case.
Yeah,
Somebody asked me, I said I would ask.
And of course, you know, you're new, you're in. Loy's here, she's new, she's in. And the other lady, what's her name?
Darlene.
Darlene's new, and she's in. And this is normally a class.
Did you get John?
Yeah, John's online here. John's on my phone. This is normally.
Tell John he's in.
Oh well, John's been in. This is normally a class where you have to be initiated in, and when I mean initiated, you have to start at ground zero and get in, and come in at ground zero. Now, Chad, you and Loy and Darlene are coming in at level 4,320, literally. Maybe even higher level than that. But the reason I'm letting y'all in right now is because we are starting at the Ein Sof. We're starting at the top, working our way down. We're not in the middle where I have to go back and backtrack and you'll be lost. So y'all actually hit it at a very perfect time. And as this thing, I don't want to say grows, but as it goes, y'all have a very huge responsibility to Hashem for this information. You will not find any rabbis that will teach this online or anywhere or open at all. It is only done behind closed doors, to an inner circle, very covertly, because there is a concept that people want to change the world. Now, changing the world is a grievous sin. and let me explain a little bit why that is. If you want to change the world, you are coming against the one who created the plan that it is currently following. And so you will not find these Torah scholars and Torah masters who have the ability to manipulate the words, the terms, and the worlds, because they know how to do it, to change any course of creation. They will not do it. They will die before they will do it. And the rest of the world, all they want to do is change the world. Save the whales. Do this, do that. Whatever change the world means to you. And so the problem with that is you should get into Torah to be a John, what was the term I used earlier? You remember when I was telling you this? You should be a team player, so to speak. Okay?
Should participate.
Yeah, a participant. You should be a participant in creation. That's a good term. You should be a participant in creation through Torah. Because when you do that, when Torah is returned to its source, and not someone trying to alter and manipulate Torah, that's what magic is and all these other things, and just religion in general. They're trying to change the course of the world. Well, the course of the world has been designed and been shot out of the mind of God since the beginning. Who are you to change it?
Arrogance to think so.
Okay, so out of humility, you don't change it, you participate in it. Whether it's abortion, whatever cause you think you have to change. You be a participant in Torah. Not that you have to be a participant in doing abortion or being against abortion. That's not the point. The point is, abortion is a part of tohu that's been going on because the word nephilim means aborted ones. It will always happen. It's a part of the plan. We can't see the plan, but it's in the plan. But when we're in Torah and when we're studying Torah and doing Torah, we are a participant. And then when we send that feedback back to Hashem, and He changes the next signal, that's what changes the world. And so literally because of what we don't do in the world and what we do with God, that's what actually changes the world. Our focus needs to be inward and upward in Torah and not outward and directed to the world. We have to change our thinking process. We have to change our thought. And this is the hardest thing in the world to do, and I struggle with it every day because I want to change those people who are around me that I can't stand. You know? Baby, would you turn the air down a little bit? She's kind of cold. And so we've got to take a new mind concept that things happen in this world for a reason. That doesn't mean we don't have to participate in the world we live in, because we live in the world we live in, but we have to do it from a Torah consciousness, a Torah mindset. All right? So with that in mind, we study Torah for the sake of heaven, and that's why. So we're finally getting it. Why do we study Torah for the sake of heaven? Because if we try to change the world, we are in idolatry. But when we study Torah and do Torah for the sake of heaven, then that's what changes the world. Okay? So we do have an active part in changing the world, but we can't do it. But the signal that we send back can. And I'm going to go through a little deal about grace after you eat, and why saying grace after you eat is such a significant part in changing the world. You would be surprised what the mitzvahs that you do. Okay? Now, just real quickly, as y'all remember, the term pardes is where we get our term paradise, is the Peshat, the Remez, and the Drosh, and the Sod. These are the four levels corresponding to Yud-He-Vav-He, the name of God. All right? Now, there are these four levels of study of Torah, but guess what? There are these four levels in the study of Kabbalah and what we are doing. Now, here's how you will know where somebody is at. As is known, there are four levels of study of Torah. The Peshat, the plain meaning, the Remez, the implied meaning, the Drosh, the allegorical meaning, and the Sod, this is the secret meaning, or the Kabbalistic meanings. Just as there are four levels of learning Torah in general, there are four levels of learning Kabbalah in specificity. Most students of Kabbalah today only study the Peshat of Kabbalah, which is the metaphysical philosophy known as theoretical Kabbalah. It is what is learned in most Kabbalistic yeshivas, including those in Israel. Theoretical Kabbalah includes a study of the Zohar and the Arizal. Learning the most sacred texts of its immeasurable value, yet nonetheless, the one learning them still only is learning the theory and not the practice. This is the Peshat of Kabbalah.
The theory and not the practice.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay? Now, outside of cults and academies and studies of schools of Kabbalah, there are a number of students that delve into the Remez level of Kabbalah. They seek the emotional effect this type of study and what this type of effect has on their soul. These individuals perform meditations, song, dance. Their study of Kabbalah leads them to act joyful in their hearts. Their experience of Kabbalah to study the emotion and the fullness of passion of God within it.
That's a good level.
They may or may not excel in the physiological studies of Kabbalah because those in the Remez level manifest the Sphira of Tiferet, the heart. All their learning is heart-centered instead of being head-centered. Now, the third group. This is the Drosh level. These people are in the Sphirot of Binah. Of course, we know Binah is in Bariah. This is the level of creation. Such these students are in the rectification center. This group works with the serious mental constructs of meditations and the systems of the Sefer Yetzirah. Being that their purpose is drastically different from the first two groups, their methods and topics also of study also differ greatly. Those involved in the Sefer Yetzirahs and the studies do not spend much time mastering philosophical works of theoretic Kabbalah. These souls are not the ones to be singing and dancing. As such, this type of Kabbalist is usually secluded and rarely makes themselves known to other Kabbalists. The Drosh of Kabbalah students excels in science, technology, and is complemented by spiritual disciplines. This group endeavors to rearrange spiritual matters above in the heavenly spheres through the intrinsic mental constructs. They are given a special name. They are called the secluded ones. And I think that's what we are. The fourth and final group of Kabbalists are true masters. These are the ones who study and practice the true secrets. Unfortunately, many of the schools of the deepest levels of their philosophical pursuits entails the Sod, but nothing can be further from the truth. Those who know the Sod Kabbalah are graduates of the Drosh Kabbalah level. They are those individuals in a generation that can descend before the Merkavah, speak daily with angels. They are masters of God's good name. These are called Baal Shem Tovs. Now, I thought it was important for us to go through that so that we have a grasp when we are talking to somebody and you see what kind of level, what kind of person they are. Because if they're studying these esoteric texts, they are a Kabbalist by nature, which is nothing more than a Torah scholar that is delving into the oral Torah, the Torah that has to be transmitted, taught orally. These people, who I think we all are part of these people because we're drawn to this type of information, we all fit in one of these categories. Probably we're a level 1, although we are very secluded. And most people don't know what to do with us, you know, as I've found out in the last few years.
If we keep our mouth shut, they wouldn't have to worry about it.
And that's why the secluded ones are like that. We, you know, they know that guy's out there on a limb, but we really don't know what limb he's on.
Yeah.
You know, and so there are.
But when you open your mouth, you remove all doubt.
Yeah. They already know. Okay, today.
So it's good if we just say we study Torah.
Sure, that's
on Wednesday night.
Yeah, we study Torah on Wednesday nights.
Just Torah class.
And that's all it is, really. You know,
that's the truth.
That's the truth. There is no candy coating that. All right. What we're going to do today, John, I sent you that Orion's feedback loop.
You need to get Chad.
Chad, do you have an iPhone? Chad? Chad, are you there? Yes. Chad, do you have a way for me to send you a picture on your phone?
Yes, I guess. Yeah, I guess you can send it as a text or an email, either one.
I can't email from my phone because it's broken somehow. But
Do you want to take a picture of it from me and I'll send it to him?
I'm gonna take a picture on Russell's phone and text it to you.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna hang up on you to do it. Okay.
I don't think
No,
you
you
have
don't
to.
have to.
Okay. Well.
It's a four.
All right. I'm sorry. Hold on. Here we go. Camera.
One other question. Will we be done by 8?
Oh yes.
Okay, all right.
All right, Russell. Send him that picture. Okay. We're going here. You can look at this one. That picture. Stacy, you can look at that picture. Now, I'm going to read this. John, we're going over that picture I sent you of the Ian-Sof fractal feedback loop. Now, as we discussed in the last class, the Ian-Sof and the Ian-Sof, we are going to go through some teachings from the lesson today that have probably never been heard ever before. And then I'm going to break it down the best I can, because we're talking about something that can't be broken down. And so how do you break something down that can't be broken down? This is Torah, and I'm going to try my best to explain it. So here goes. I think I can do without those. The following material, to my knowledge, this has been transcribed by Rabbi Bakst, has never been presented in English to the English-speaking audience. This unique field of study is so esoteric and so little known that it is rarely even studied in inner Torah circles of Kabbalah. When I first encountered the secret of the Shashua in the work I have translated below, I was spellbound. Let's talk about this term, Shashua. This is what we're kind of going to cover today, and we're going to bounce off of that until we completely understand it, because this is the essence of creation, of everything that is emanating every moment, every second. Before we Before me lay a detailed description of higher dimensional Torah that preceded the present Torah. In a rigorous mathematical-like language, it depicted coordinates in that the Godhead that, as it were, preceded the God of Genesis. In fact, this level of reality precedes the opening pages of the Tree of Life, even written by the Ori in Lurianic Kabbalah. This process described in this book we're speaking of in a language that is more akin to the string theory in physics than appearing remotely theological or religious. Yet this material is more than fundamental. Before there was the new light of Genesis, before there were even the primordial worlds, before there was even Adam Kadmon, who is primordial Adam, before there was even the Malbush, and even before the classic Tzimtzum of the Ari, there was the Shashua. So we're see where we have taken this thing back from? Okay? The study of the Shashua represents the infrastructure upon which the entirety of reality and consciousness was constructed. What is more, and as much we can try to express that we cannot, the sod of the Shashua is the hidden infrastructure upon which even our concept of God is built. What is presented below in the Shashua is barely the tip of the cosmic iceberg. The process of including the secret teachings of the Shashua, which is beyond Kabbalah, is to allow us a minute glimpse in how truly vast and encompassing this multi-dimensional Torah is. However, for the one who understands and is able to iterate one thing to another and creates constant, coherent superpositions, a veil, a covering the mystery of life may be removed. What he's saying there is once you understand the Shashua and the way it works, in which we're going to go through, every time God makes a movement, a new creation, over creation, is created.
An over creation?
A new creation, over creation, is created. In other words, a new ring on the tree is made. If you think of it in the cross-section of a tree, every time God makes a pulsation, the tree gets a ring. What is the tree?
Is it like the prehistoric layers that are underneath?
Yes, that's a way you can look at it. That's a really good way you can look at it. Because in every one of these rings is a universe and a world. And we are a ring. Now, if you look at this picture, you can see that we are the outer ring. You see that? But I'm going to show you how the outer ring is really the inner ring. But we have to wrap our mind around that just for a second. But we're going to get to that, okay? Because when you're looking at this picture, you're not looking at it flat like concentric rings going out. You're looking at it through a tunnel, and you're seeing the rings going back. Okay, so we're the inner ring. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to everybody on the phone?
Is that
Say it one more time.
Like looking through a kaleidoscope.
No, but back up. Just say it one more time.
When you're looking at this picture,
Yes.
you're not looking at it flat like you cut a tree in half and the rings are going out. You're looking at it as like you're looking through a tube and the rings are going back. And it's going back, and you're seeing it going back like that.
So are we the ring closest to the eye, or the ring furthest out from the eye?
Yes.
We're here.
Oh.
Yes, Russell, you're correct. And I'm going to show you how it works. And I've got this cellophane here, and guys, Chad and John, I brought some cellophane, and in a minute we're going to do a Torah experiment so that we can understand the Shashua of the Ein Sof and how creation is created. Okay? And I came up with this, and Rabbi Bax thought it was genius. So, now, as we move on, unknown to most of the world, Kabbalah is science. And it has a bunch of different fields of study and disciplines. One of the highest specialized areas of Kabbalah is the secret of the Malbush, which is the garment. The garment. Okay? This highly advanced field of Torah study is known as teaching the worlds of dimensions of the Ein Sof. So within the Ein Sof are worlds. Even within the Ein Sof, there are worlds and dimensions. We just think everything that He has created is a world and a universe and a dimension. Far be it from that. Because this is only a mirror image of what's already.
Well, of course,
in
it
Him.
makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Because the world, we're in the Ein Sof.
We are the center of Him.
So within Him are worlds and dimensions.
Exactly. So
yeah.
there are very few, even among serious, disciplined students of Kabbalah, who frequent this sector of spiritual universes. Current classical Kabbalah reveals the previously hidden details of Tohu and Tikkun, which we have been studying, the worlds of Tohu and Tikkun. These are the primordial worlds that preceded creation of our present reality and the consequent restoration or resurrection and the interfacings of those dimensions into a codex of Torah, the account of Genesis. Now let me clarify. Let me put this into non-Rabbi Bax terms. Where Tohu intersects with itself and each other, and all the points of creation of every universe that God has ever created, where these things meet, that's Genesis.
So it can be Genesis for every world.
Yet there is Genesis for every world. But this is the Genesis. There is Genesis in every world. There is 6 days of creation, and the 7th day in every world and in every iteration and in every universe God has ever made. How do we know that? Because it's the same in ours. There's 6 days of creation. So when you're reading the Torah, and it says, and let there be light, and there was light and all that stuff, you know that's not talking about creation of the earth. Because that's talking about creation of light. So in other words, every time God created something, it was 6 days and 7. Because this pulsation of Yesod is the 6 and the 7 to 8. Every single revolution. Now, we're going to explain that in depth. Because once you get this concept, what we're going to come to by the end of the class is, what is the world to come? Where is the world to come? What is heaven? Where is heaven? And what are we? Because that's what we want to know, right? It's what I want to know. What happens at the 7 and we go to the 8? What do we do? What happens when God pulses again and makes a new ring? What's that to us? Who are we? Where are we? The fact of it is, where we're going to get to is mind-blowing. Now, to explain the above, the pre-Genesis worlds, other dimensions, and parallel realities. I watched a show last night called Parallel Universes on Discovery Channel. They're trying to prove that there are parallel universes. Well, all they got to do is come in this class and they'll get it figured out. How many parallel universes are there? How old is the Ein Sof? How old is God? Let's ask that question. Oh, well, the scientists, they can't come to a conclusion. Oh, it's 15 billion years old. Oh, we found something that was 30 billion years old. Well, guess what? How many zeros you got? Because God is from never not been doing this. And guess what? He's never not going to stop. We are just in this point of never not that makes us our reality. God is growing. This is how God grows. He cannot grow without Guvarot. He cannot grow without Tohu. That's what makes the bark on the next ring on the tree. Now, these parallel realities are known as the primordial breaking of the vessels. The
Say
death,
that again.
the primordial breaking of the vessels, the
Yes.
shattering of the vessels.
Say the whole thing again.
Okay, the parallel dimensions
Mhm.
is the breaking of the vessels. The creation of all the worlds is the shattering of the vessels.
You mean every time he falls asleep?
There was a specific point, and we're going to get to that, but we're still right here. We've got to get to that down here. I'm just covering it as a broad base.
Okay, read the whole sentence again.
Okay, the worlds of pre-Genesis are primordial worlds,
Mhm.
and this is the making of these is called the shattering of the vessels or breaking of the vessels. Okay, the death of the primordial kings that we've talked about, and the birth of the primordial generations. As is known from the Holy Ori, who is only elaborating upon the living legacy of the Talmudic sages, the cosmic breakage itself is emanating out of even deeper layers of the divine process. This is the world of Adam Kadmon. The primordial Adam. The Adam before the Adam that we know of, quote unquote, Adam of Genesis. Simply put, Adam Kadmon is known as the highest or higher dimensional image of God. He is the Godhead, the God body, and the prototype, the first of the emanation. He is the precursor to the soul of Adam HaRishon. That has probably never been heard or taught ever. The reality of Adam, of its godly form, are governed by different sets of cosmic rules, a whole different phase of Torah, Torah A, that we previously discussed. It, as it were, which we are now currently bound by. Yet, it is exactly the very same Torah given to us at Mount Sinai by our teacher Moses. This is the primordial Torah that then existed, and even on a more transcendent level and a reality of higher consciousness. This Torah is the cosmic template for Adam Kadmon and all the primordial worlds that manifest out of it. Now, what I'm fixing to read here, I am just going to read it through. It is very difficult, and then I'm going to explain it the best I can. And I can tell you that if it wasn't for God showing me how to iterate this out, I wouldn't be able to explain it. The mind of God behind the primordial Torah is not a divine person, a cosmic place, or even transcendent thingness. This God is not even the great cosmic oneness. Wrap your mind around that. Rather, the secret of the God of the primordial Torah can only be described as a formula. It begins as a simple formula consisting of only 4 alphanumeric units. The last 2 of these 4 units of the divine formula enfold into the first 2, and so, conceptually, there are only 2 digits. The second of the 2 digits in turn enfold into the first, so that now, in essence, there is only a single unit that contains all the others. This singular unit contains the 3 that represented as the smallest point, 1 iota, one minute jot. This point of singularity is the Hebrew letter Yud, or Yud, which both Greek iota and Latin jot are borrowed. This alphanumeric Yud itself is contained in a minute prong that sits atop the crown its letters, and thus all 4 points of the formula branch out from the crown, the hidden fifth dimension. Now, remember, Stacy? Remember when we were studying earlier, I'll give y'all a hint on how this works, the Yud Hey Vav Hey, and the tip of the Yud, the fifth. That's what he's going into. You know, the 4 letters are the Yud Hey Vav Hey,
Right.
and the bottom one is concealed in the middle one, and the middle one folds into the second one, and the second one folds into the first one, because the Yud is the foundational mark that makes every letter.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying this one folds into this one,
No,
this
no,
folds
no,
into these,
no,
this-
no. Where's, right here. See,
Oh,
this
I see.
is nothing more but that plus a Yud. And so this is really this, and this folds into this, and this, it all folds into that.
You can find the Yud in every letter.
Yes, without the Yud, there is no letters. And but what he's saying is there's a fifth dimension, which is the tip of the Yud. And remember going through our Sphirot, the Atzilut was the tip of the Yud. Hokmah, the Yud. Binah, the Hey. The Vav is Zeron Pin. And Malchut, the Nukva, was the final Hey. Remember, Binah is mother, Ima, and Malchut is daughter. They're both Hey. So always remember the Hey is feminine. Okay? Now, this is a dynamic equation. Now, the things I'm reading to you are transcribed out of the Leshem. This stuff is not in English anywhere but right here.
It's transcribed, but spell it.
Out of the Leshem. Lesheum. Right? E-E-M.
Vegan.
E-E-M. The Yud remains constant while the other values of letters change. When functioning as an equation, it's a dynamic process, computing itself upon itself. Thus, God is a dynamic equation that is forever iterating upon itself. The true God of the Torah and the Talmud is not a noun, nor is it a verb. Rather, it is as much as we can express and that which we cannot. God is an equation. It is an equation that has no beginning and has no end, and it has never not been iterating out its consciousness within consciousness within consciousness. We, from every atom to every galaxy, to you and to me and to all humanity consciousness, are these very iterations. The in-depth study of the Malbush and the Shashua, which we'll explain Shashua in a minute, and the cosmic strata of the worlds of the Ein Sof are the most esoteric and advanced study of Kabbalah that you can study. One of the few Kabbalah masters to elaborate on this is once again the Leshem. L-E-S-H-E-M.
So that was the person.
Yes.
Amazing.
Rabbi Shlomo Eliashu is the Leshem. What follows is a loose translation of the first 2 chapters of the total of 46 chapters in his book titled The Eastward Facing Gate. Which I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it. It is the Sha'ar HaPonei Kadim, the Eastward Facing Gate, and I hope I said that right. It is written. If you will look in Proverbs 8:30, this proverb 8:30 is what is describing this happening. I was a nursling by his side. I was then his delight every day, playing before him at all times. Proverbs 8:30. These are the personified words of the Holy Torah, who claims that she is the architect for the Holy One. Now look what we've just done here. We've just gone from he to she. The primeval revelation and inception of all his emanations in their entirety outside of the exterior of his hidden essence was the Holy Torah. So the Torah is a feminine. We haven't even got to Adam Kadmon yet. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Who is in the essence of he.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about the essence of she. So,
Wherever you have the AH ending is feminine.
yeah. So the Shashua sounds a lot like Sarah. So here we see that's an iteration. You see how we used our pulsation and got to her?
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on here is God is making his feminine. Because if he's going to create anything, he's going to have Guvarot. So that's why, remember up here, the Ramha says, if you don't understand the dance of Hasidim and Guvarot, you can't understand anything about creation. Because before he created the traditional statement of God created creations to bestow his goodness, well, that's just the basic, I don't want to say the idiot level, but that's just the common answer. But God created creation for Hoog. That's why man and woman desire to seek each other. Because that's the same thing he desired in the beginning. So the first thing he has to do is make his own pulsation. His own delight. The word Sashua is this essence of delight. And so that's...
So is it the climax?
Yes, it is. It is written here, afterwards all existence was revealed in Torah and through Torah, and that such she becomes the exclusive agent, the architect, the tool, and the map for all reality. This is the meaning of the verse, I was a nursling beside him. And because of through the Torah, she became his architect tool. The term beside or next to, specifically used here, is et zolo, next to. This is where we get the term atzilut. It's the same root. Atzilut, next to. So atzilut is the thing that's next to Kadmon, and so on and so on and so on. Now, this is the meaning of the emanations, Olam Atzilut, the world of emanations. That the Torah was the first emanation which emanated out of the knowable essence of the Ein Sof. It's a she. She says, get wisdom. You know, that's what the first proverb that Solomon says. Get her. Who is her? She is wisdom. What is wisdom? What is Chokmah? It's Torah. So when we are studying Torah, we are studying the essence of the Ein Sof, the first of creation. That makes studying Torah, takes it on a whole new level. It takes it on every level. That is mind-blowing. It is his delight. It is his organus, is the term. Mm-hmm. It is his fuzzy feeling. Okay? The Torah herself now continues to explain the order of her manifestation. And she began the process of emanating out of the Ein Sof with the words, I was his delight, his Shashua, every day. That she emanated out of him through the phenomena of Shashua. Sheer internal ecstasy. Her initial revelation was via the act of Shashua, and through this act she emanated from and out of the Ein Sof. An arousal and movement that occurs within its own self, generating the essence of Shashua. Every movement, in turn, is a gathering and a tzimtzum. So we're talking about before tzimtzum. This Shashua is what creates tzimtzum, the contraction. Now, this is the contraction between point and point. In other words, the stirring movement within the Shashua is the contraction from within itself to itself. There are now two aspects. So now, remember what I was talking about a while ago? The one becomes two.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are two aspects. Yet, it's just it's one movement in two directions, which we will show you how that works here. Where am I? In other words, the stirring movement within the Shashua is a contraction within itself to itself. Now these two aspects, the force of the stirring arousal itself and the tzimtzum, or the contraction, is that it is being generated between each pulsation. Each Shashua within the light of the Ein Sof consists of a dual rhythmic oscillation among every outward movement and its corresponding contraction or regression. Now, let's illustrate this. Stacy, if you'd come up here and be my beautiful assistant. Russell.
Let me get this on the.
Okay, if you would come up here and be my other beautiful
I want
assistant.
to make sure I get it.
All right, I'm going to tear this. Okay, now grab the corner. I want it to be. I don't want it to grab the corner of that. Yeah, I don't want it to. Go ahead and grab it. Yeah, I don't want it to. Okay. All right, let's tear that off. Go ahead and grab that. Grab that. Hold it. All right, Stacy. All right, Stacy, you hold this corner and that top and bottom, and you hold this top and bottom. All right, you hold this top right here. Now, okay. This is a piece of cellophane, and this is the Ein Sof. All right. Now, give me just a little slack here. I'm going to grab a point. Now, as I pull it in, y'all come with me. Y'all go in, go in, go in, go in, stop. Now, as this thing is pulling in from a central point, which side is Hasidim and which side is Guvarot?
This is Guvarot.
It's opposite. This side is going in.
Yeah.
This side is sucking
Expansion and
out.
So
contraction.
the
This-
female side is on your side. Mm-hmm.
Now watch. Now it went the other way. Now which side is Hasidim and which side is Guvarot?
Your side is
Hasidim.
Yes. It was Guvarot a while ago.
mm-hmm.
Now it just switched. Every time God makes a pulsation or what's called a breath, inhale, exhale, boom, a point is made. So guess what? This cellophane is, if we pull this and we're looking down a tube, that's what we got. The picture that you guys are looking at, here's the point. But when this whole thing comes together, this whole thing is on the inside. See, this is on the inside. It's just one thing. Because now it's going to go the other way, and this is going to go in. This isn't going to go. The outside edge is not going to go around it. It's going to go through the middle of it. It's going to go through the middle, and it's going to come back through that side, and then it's going to shoot out over the other side. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's going to be a hypercube. It's going to go inside itself and back through itself. It's not just on a three-dimensional plane.
It's 5-dimensional.
Yes, it's on a 5-dimensional plane. It's not just going in and out, in and out, in and out right here. It's going in itself, and then this whole thing goes back through itself. And so it's pulsating. And pulsating. Every time it pulsates, creation. And so, if we look at the whole thing, on God is this piece of cellophane here represents the entire to as far as infinite. This is infinite.
Mm-hmm.
Every piece, every point on this whole thing is doing Shashua, not just this one. The whole thing, the whole consciousness.
At different intervals? I mean, are they unison or indifferent?
In the fifth dimension, what is unison?
Yes, but I think what you're saying, if it's going on this part, does that quarter go in all the way through
Yes,
and back out?
yes, but this is not flat. It's not even round. It's a 5-dimensional. I mean, God has no form. Where's the form? See, you got to take it and turn it back in on itself. Where's the form? Where's the point? Where do you find, like we talked about last class?
It's kind of like this: what's on the inside, and then it's on the outside.
Yes, it's on the. Is it on the inside? Is it on the outside? Mm-hmm. Where is a point of something that's infinite that has no points?
Yeah, when we're
Thank you,
thinking like
ladies.
this, which we can't help because of our minds, we're still thinking of direction. Is it pointing this way? Is it pointing that way?
Which way is it pointing?
That's all direction, and there is no direction with that.
Right. The only direction is here.
The point.
We are
The
the
center.
point. What point? We are this point. Guess how many points are intersecting at this point? Every point. Every point. That's why we have dinosaurs here. That's why we find dinosaurs here. Did dinosaurs roam this? Dinosaurs roamed their dimension. But because every point intersects at the terminal, we are the only airplane terminal. Every airplane took off from a point, not from a terminal. But we are the terminal. Everything comes here. That's why we are a melting pot of civilizations. Everything we are, every creation that God has ever created has a malchut that is at the distal end. What makes us special? Every malchut of every emanation intersects and overlaps right here.
With our malchut.
Yes.
Our individual Malhut,
Or that is what makes up this world. Is the overlapping of every single emanation and pulsation that has come into being. That's why all the tohu is here. All creation is here. Of every creation.
on this planet,
On this
not
planet.
this constellation or.
Well, in this universe.
Yeah. Is it?
Whether it's Jupiter, Venus, Mars, all those things are, Mars is the Guvurot.
Well,
Jupiter's Teferet, I believe. They all have all our planets have Sphero. And so, but anyway, but outside each of those rings, now if you will look on this thing, let me read on this one because you can look at this page.
Okay.
Now, if you guys will look on your Or Inso fractal feedback picture, on the left-hand side, I will read that because on the picture it's probably very difficult to read. It says Yud Hey Vav Hey, the Tetragrammaton. Yud Hey Vav Hey, the 4-digit alphanumeric code name of God of Israel, is pulsating the equation of the garment of light, which has a gematria of 207.
is that Malbush?
Malbush. Now, the Ein Sof also has a gematria of 207. This has never not been iterating in fractal formula feedback into itself after each expanding layer or universe, which then replicates and amplifies itself as a new universe. So what he's saying is every time the light goes out from this center, it makes a new universe. Okay? Every new edge or end stimulates the delight of the Shashua, of the Ein Sof. So every time it goes to as far out as it can go, when it hits that, it pops back. And that is its ultimate delight. This is the suction. This is the same formulation of male and female union.
It's creativity.
Well, I mean, in other words, what is in a union between a man and a woman? What is the best feeling? Is it the feeling going in or the feeling going out?
The vacuum.
It's the vacuum. It's not the in or the out. It's the process. So he gets just as much delight here and just as much delight there. That's why if you try to change the world, you're changing his process. You're changing his delight. That's why you can't. But if you become a process of his delight, what's a process of his delight? We read it a while ago. The Torah was first the emanation. The Torah is his delight. So when you become the Torah, and when you become in the Torah, you become the process of his delight. That's what changes the next layer. That's what Adam knew. That's what Abraham knew. That's what all these guys knew. That is what's called tikkun. Because they are sending the signal back to him.
No, when you say becoming Torah, you're talking about the mitzvot. You're talking about
mitzvot.
You're talking about the way you act, the way you study, the way the
down
mindset.
to the way you think.
You're being the Torah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are becoming his Shashua. You are becoming. This is what is meant.
Well, you're becoming his Torah.
Yeah. This is what is meant by stimulation from below. Get it? That's why they say stimulation from below. Well, what are you stimulating?
But whatever's above.
Ein Sof. Every point of him.
And so you do this by emulating, living to Torah and Torah concepts, Torah thought, Torah.
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 Yeah. All right. Now, if you will look at this picture, the innermost dot there is the Ein Sof. And what's the innermost dot of creation of this earth? What's the inner spot? It's the dome of the rock. It's the Evan Shtia. That is the central docking point. That is the
dot within the dot.
That is the docking station, excuse me. Now, the Ein Sof in the middle there. Now you got to remember that middle is the outside. Because this thing just went in on itself. And we are not outside of God, he is outside of us. We are in the centermost part of him. Okay? Because every time God makes a ring, every time he makes a ring in the center of him, he gets bigger on the outside, not on the inside. Does that make sense? The light of the Ein Sof, the Malbush, this is the second rim there. These are the 10 hidden Sphirot and the primordial Torah. The Malbush is woven from the underlying movement of Yud-He Vav-He, which then reveals the 22 sacred Hebrew letters, which then forms all the words of the primordial Torah and the fractal patterns of reality. Of course, in the Malbush is the 231 gates, etc., etc., etc. The sounds, the cantillations, the vowels, the crowns, all these things that have now become known as everything that exists. The third ring is the concealed Adam Kadmon. You notice that is really not a ring. It's between this number 2 and number 4. And then we have number 4, the endless worlds of the Ein Sof. And when it says endless worlds of the Ein Sof, it's endless. So to put it in a picture like this, you know, you can't take it literally. 5. Those are the worlds of Adam Kadmon, primordial man. That's kind of the tan portion. 6. These are the lights and the worlds emanating out of Adam Kadmon. 7. These are worlds of Akudim. Now, if you'll look on our deal, here's Akudim right here. So all those rings are all this exists right here. There's Akudim. And look at everything we've fleshed out since then. Okay. Number 8 is the world of Nekudim. Now, if you look on there, you can see it says 6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 7. Every one of those is 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested. Every one of those rings. So that, see, we're before Genesis here.
But there's still the pattern of 6, 7.
There's always the pattern of 6.
Just like there always is now the pattern of 6, 7
And guess
within
what?
creation.
And guess what? There will always be that. God is never not.
And 6, 7, I guess 6, 7 is going to always be the pattern.
It's going to always be the pattern. Is God going to stop Shashua? Is he going to stop emanating? Is he going to stop growing?
He's not going to stop the Shabbat.
He's not going to ever stop anything.
When was the first 6, 7?
That's a loaded question. How old's God?
Infinity.
That's when it started.
You know, it's probably safe to say that 6,
There
7
has-
never stopped.
There has
and it
there
never
has always
started,
there
and
has
it never
al-
ended.
there has always been 6, 7. Yeah, exactly. Okay, number 9 here, the world of Barudim, aka Genesis. Okay, the last ring there, gang, the red ring, 6,000 years of the fall, of the collapse into lower dimension. And then there's the current edge or crust, which is number 11. And you can see it says, we are here. This is the Orion So fractal feedback loop. It's like a snail's garment that is growing outside its own self. This is from the Midrash. This is a very good dissertation of this this deal. Now, what time is it?
At we're
It's 7?
1 minute and 1 hour and 3 minutes in, so I think we'll
Okay,
start
we'll stop right
wrapping
here. But before we go, I want y'all to be able to apply this to your everyday life. As you can see, I didn't even get through what I wanted to get through today. Okay, real quick, grace after meals. Well known, one of the prayers in Jewish liturgy, the Berachat Hamazon, the grace after meals. You shall eat and be satisfied, and you shall bless the Lord your God for the good land which he has given you. Deuteronomy 8:7. This text goes on to talk about the obvious question is, does God really need your blessing? Does God need your blessing? Here's what you have to wrap your mind around. What do you buy a billionaire for his birthday?
The flower.
You see, what do you get somebody that has everything? So our kasha question is what do we give God that he doesn't already have?
Sentiment.
What?
Well, I already gave you the answer.
Say it out loud.
Sentiment.
I already gave you the answer. We've been studying the answer.
Torah.
We've been studying this whole hour has been about what to give God. Which, yeah, obviously it's Torah.
And
But so fully examine whether you answer the answer you really can't win. If you say yes, that you got to bless God, then you're implying that God needs something from you.
Right.
You know, if you say no, or then you're saying that there's no purpose of creation. The principle that surprisingly is adhered to by the Kabbalists, no scripture verse can be divorced of its meaning. You will bless God. God says, and you will bless God. So, the Hebrew word for blessing is bracha. The three root letter being bet, resh, kaf. Contrary to public notion, the baraka does not mean to thank or to praise God. Rather, the root of bracha means to addition or to increase. So what would you be increasing? How about his Shashua? So, as is clear from a number of scripture verses, from the explicit statements in the Zohar, the word brecha, a spring of flowing water, shares the same root. That is B-R-E-I-C-H-A. When we make or give a bracha, something is being added or springing forth. The flow is being turned on and turned up. What is being increased? Once again, how can one increase affect God? There are a number of simple ways of understanding how we can, as a figure of speech or metaphorically, be increasing and adding unto God. Because God is growing, right? Where does He get that from? Bracha. The way of the Kabbalah, once again, is to take the words of the Torah literally only from a very different perspective with a very different set of tools. Fundamentally, the term God refers to the ineffable essence, the source of all emanation, the aspect of the divine known as Ein Sof, or the Infinite One. The Ein Sof is never a direct participant of any aspect of existence, yet eternally omnipresent, upon which everything is manifested in itself. We know and interact with Ein Sof through its manifestations and attributes, which is the spherotic structure. These divine attributes are what the Kabbalists refer to as a spherot. Spherot are the technical terms for the different divine names, formulas, and combinations and creative powers. Now, we'll get to the nuts and bolts of it. We are the lower terminal. He is the upper terminal. If He sends a signal down, He needs a signal back. Torah sends when we do the Torah, that's how we know, that's how we're sending the signal back. It's like the radio or the cell phone. All right? There's a story here where Hashem, the Kohen Gadol enters into the Holy of Holies to accumulate the service on the days of awe with the burnt offering and sacrificial incense. There, in a state of prophecy, the Holy One, God, the Hesed, revealed Himself to the sage. While in the most intimate relationship between the Creator and the created, the nexus of God and man, the divine asked, B'nai brachani, my son, bless me. The Kohanim Gadol did not respond with any words of praise or thanks. Rather, as he atoned for his people and for the world, the high priest uttered these words. May it be your will that your mercy suppresses your anger and that your mercy prevail over your other attributes, so that you may deal with your children with the attribute of mercy, and that for their benefit stop short the requirement of justice due to them. In other words, let it flow. Let the spring wells of Hesed flow to the lower dimensions. So why did he not just go, okay, I'll bless you, God? Because he knew that what God was wanting was the loop. And the way to get more blessing is to let blessing flow. So when he asked God for mercy on the people, he opened up all the channels of the light, which allowed all of his light to come down, which allowed it all to go back, so God was able to receive more of himself from himself, which blessed God. And that is the secret of blessing. When you have eaten, it said, and you're satisfied, and you bless God, when you bless God, what happens is all that food and energy that he has supplied for you, see, he's blessing you and giving you food and substance on your table, which is the Ark of the Covenant, which is when you eat and you're having bread and wine and you light the candles and you're eating in the Holy of Holies, you are the Kohen Gadol. And when you eat that and when you say the blessing after the meal, it allows him to pour out more, which allows him to receive more back. And that's the secret of the blessing. Because you're not thanking God. You're not praising God. You're giving God more of himself back, and he is growing. He is getting bliss. Every time he grows and expands, every time he expands, he can contract. And since we are the Guvarot, we are the feminine polarity, as he expands to us and we give it back, he can contract. It is the union and the pulsation of the Shashua that he desires. And that is the Torah for this day. Thank you for listening in. We have a ton of stuff to go over. And so we didn't, we're still in the Orient Self. We still have to go over how the letters are made and how the hard spark is done. I mean, this is a very deep study. It can go on and on and on. But I want to understand God to the best of my ability. And the more I teach y'all, the better y'all understand it, the better I understand it. I want one quick thing. The formula Yud-Hey Vav-Hey, we're going to go over that. This is what God showed me. You see, there's, if you count numerically, 1, 2, 3, 4, those are the 4 letters, Yud-Hey Vav-Hey. It says in the formula we read earlier that 4 folds into 3, 3 folds into 2, and 2 folds into 1, and so ultimately God is one. And his name is one. Because without the Yud there is no other.
Okay, is the Yud the one?
Yud's the one. But within the one we know there's the tip of the Yud. But that's the 5th dimension. But we're
Why
not.
is the one not on the right side, since we read from right to left?
This works either way. Just like the Malbush. It goes frontwards and backwards. It can
Okay.
work either way. Because this is non-local, non-dimensional. I just wrote it like that because that's the way we count. Okay? 1 and 2 is 3. 3 and 3 is 6. 6 and 4 is 10. And that's the formula of God's name. Now, that's how it's written in a formula. How is it written in the Sefirot? Look at this. This is cool. 1 and 2 is 3. When it iterates itself, 3 and 3 is 6, the middle 6. When Keter is not present, 6 and Da'at, 6 and 4 is the 10. So, because this 3 turns into that 3, and that 3 turns into that 3. And then when Keter is not present, we have Da'at, which is still giving you 3. And so 6 and 4 is 10. And so it works out on the Sphero, it works out mathematically, and that just shows you how it can be a math problem and a spatial problem all at the same time. So I thought that was just really cool. Anyway, Hashem is amazing, the sages are amazing, and the Torah is amazing. We will see y'all next week, Wednesday, shooting for Wednesday. And I hope y'all enjoyed the class and got something out of it. We'll see y'all next week.